Okay, this is in reference to mail analysis, email analysis. Oh, I just lost Brianna. Hopefully she'll be back. Email analysis, and this is something that we do as incident response analysts when we look at email and try and determine if it is spam, phishing, or if it's benign, regular email traffic. I wanted to go over a couple of these so that we can learn better how to do the analysis portion and determine if an email should be reported. Or, again, if we recommend that to our family, friends, neighbors, coworkers, don't open that because, and we can have a little bit of intelligence behind what we come up with. So I'm using Yahoo. Yahoo is my junk mailbox. I literally call it my burner because I've had this email address for 25 years, and therefore it has been involved in at least 22 different data breaches. and if you go out to haveibeenpwned.com, I think, or .net, whichever, you can look at your email and it'll tell you all of the problems that showed your email address as being part of them. So it's kind of fun. So let's take a look at the email. When you're looking at it, I'm going to pull up one that's just going to be one of a regular order. Well, let's see. Green Valley Recreation, we want your feedback. GBR feedback and events. Now, when you're looking at it, every email has what's called a header, and then it has what's called the message. And the message could be words and phrases, or it could be binary attachments. And frequently, it's both. But I'm just going to take a look at this one as an example. It says, oh, they invite you to provide feedback, purchase Father's Day tickets, blah, blah, blah. So this is a text email. But along with that, you notice at the top it says GVR feedback and events. In your browser, or typically if you're using a web-based email, you can get more information from your message by, let's see if I can get it to, no, it's not going to show it to me. Nope. All right. So, oh, here it is. There it is. Green Valley Recreation. If you hover over the address, the from address, it says who they are, and then it shows the actual email address of the sender. And that is one of the biggest giveaways as to whether an email is fraudulent or not. Because, for example, you'll see a couple in a minute, if it says it's from Netflix, but it's from an address on Gmail, well, Netflix doesn't use Gmail for their emails. So that's a dead giveaway. Or if it's some other, bobstoyshop.com, and it says they're Netflix, that certainly appears to be fraudulent. So we're looking at this one, Green Valley Recreation, and it's coming from hotline@gvrec.org. That sounds legitimate. It matches what they say and what the email says they were. In addition, you can do an expansion to see who it is addressed to. And in my case, my scottydc@yahoo.com, that's my burner mailbox. I put all my junk email. If I'm subscribing to a new tool that I have online, and it says, send me your email. I give them this one, not my personal email. Why? Because it helps to make sure that any of these little subscriptions or sign-ups, or where it says you're going to a department store and they're like, oh, let us send you information, give us your email address. I give this one, not the one where I have stuff that's important to me. So just for example, I call it my burner mailbox, and you can do this very easily, and it helps to segregate your normal things where you're corresponding with, like your kids' daycare, and junk or possible junk when you're communicating with Safeway or Sam's Club or whatever. Safeway and Sam's Club go over here. Regular correspondence I do from my mailbox that's not this burner. So just something you can do to help segregate this. But it says it's addressed to me. That means it looks legitimate. But also, I'm going to go back here, and we're going to all, and then I'm going to say, show me starred messages first. Because I saw some this week, knowing that I was going to be doing this training, and I snagged them and starred them so that we can take a look at them. So this one says, let's look at the top one. It says it's from Netflix, right? No, it's not saying it's from Netflix. If you look at the font on it, it's NETFL1X. It's not from Netflix, but it says it's addressed to me. I hover over it, and it says mailer Damon at MX blah 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 blah, and it may not be Netflix, but this thing here, that's actually a number 1. I took a look at it and expanded it. I'll show it to you in a second. So this is a fraudulent email. Also, it says, hey, update your payment details, and sometimes it even says things like, dear customer, or dear, and in this case it's my email address, but it doesn't list my name, because this fraudulent email, they never had my name. All they have is my email address. So they address it to my email instead of me, the person. Now, in your browser, in your email system that you're looking at, you also have options up here, and I'm going to show you this one. It says View Raw Message. And you can actually see, I'm going to make it a little bit bigger so you can see it. You can see what this message looked like to the email system. Junk. I mean, when you're looking at it, this is HTML. It could be XML, but it is a message format that allows it, when you're looking at it, to have stuff like a graphic here. When you're sending across the internet, your graphic is going to look maybe like this, or there's going to be a reference to a graphic somewhere else on the internet, and it's going to use it in this message. So just so you know, not everything in here is readable, but a lot of it is. I'm going to explain about some stuff in just a second, but I just wanted us to get started so you can get an idea of what I am about to show. So email analysis, let's go straight to that, and I'm going to do this as quick as I can, but I wanted to talk about email analysis. Again, email is one of the most common attack vectors for any nefarious, malicious, fraudulent content, because they're trying to get stuck in between all of your regular emails and look like just another one of those. And also, frequently, it goes straight to a customer who may or may not be trained in what to watch for. That's why email is always a risky approach, because the way to fix email, number one, is you filter it if you can, but number two, you train your customers to watch for certain things. Like I showed you over there, NETFL1X. Looks like Netflix, but it's not. So there are a number of email system tools that can be used, and I'm going to show you all three of these when we get out to that email message that I just showed you. The three are called, and oh, by the way, this information that I'm using is from the CISA Plus study guide, Cybersecurity Analyst study guide, Cybersecurity Plus. It is not in your Security Plus. So it's a little bit higher than that. But if you're doing incident response analyst work for experience in your resume using our incident response team, these will be helpful for you when you get to PhishTool, and I'll show you that as well. So three tools: SPF, DKIM, and DMARC. And oh, by the way, it doesn't matter what they're called. I'm going to show you the acronyms, but everybody calls them SPF, DKIM, or DMARC, okay? So SPF, I'm going to try and do this kind of quickly. It's used to help with email impersonators. It is a listing, it's a listing of, it's a listing of IP addresses or domains that are approved to send messages on your behalf. If you were, Brianna.com, you would go out into your DNS record and add what's called an SPF section that says the following systems have my permission to send on my behalf. For example, if you're doing constant contact, it's actually an emailer system, and it uses something, I think it's called ccmail.com or ccsend or whatever. And so you may be asked in your DNS record to say, please make sure you put this, so when you're sending something out through our system, it will pass through the mail filters that are looking for SPF. You set it for your system. Now, the downside of this, the negative part of this, it's manual, which means somebody could type it wrong or forget to put it in, but it's also optional. And every domain has to set SPF manually. In other words, if you're the only one that has SPF, then only your originating email is SPF verified out on the internet. That's one domain out of millions, billions. All right? So the challenge is it's optional and it's only sent by the sender. You can't say, I only want to see, SPF messages that have SPF, because somebody may be doing business with your customers that doesn't have SPF set on their mail system. And if SPF isn't set, it's not a 100% go or no go. All right? Also, SPF doesn't validate message integrity. It just says, is this from an authorized sender? Yes or no. And the authorization comes from the owner of the domain. Okay? Here's another one, DKIM. This checks the same thing as SPF, authorized sender, but it also uses a key to digitally sign and say, compare this to the key to see if the message has been tampered, if it's been changed. So DKIM not only checks for verified senders, but it also checks message integrity to see if it's been modified. So DKIM is better than SPF. It's more complex than SPF. Here's the good news. You can use both or neither. It's up to you as the sender, as the owner of that domain. And the third one, DMARC, it's all of those words. DMARC is an advanced check that uses SPF and DKIM, and it gives descriptions of what to do if it meets certain flag criteria. So DMARC is known to be the most complex of the three because DMARC says, do you use SPF? Yes or no? Why? Because I set it to be used. Do you use DKIM? Yes or no? Because I set it. And if it doesn't match the right criteria, here's what to do with the message. And there are three things you can do with DMARC. None, take no action. Quarantine it so it typically ends up in the spam folder, or reject it and it never goes to anybody's inbox. So when you say take no action, that means the message is passed. So lots of stuff about DMARC, DKIM, and SPF, but those are three tools that are built into every email server. The question is whether the DNS record is configured and whether these are turned on in your mail system. Okay, so just some things that you can look for. So, like I said, do you need to know these server settings? No, you don't, but you need to know they're out there. So you don't have to examine for SPF or DKIM or DMARC. Use something like PhishTool. I will show you PhishTool in just a minute, and you're going to agree with me. It's really something that you should get. Have any of you gone out and gotten a free PhishTool account yet? If not, I suggest you do so, because PhishTool will help you when you are looking at messages to be able to say, oh, that's why it's fraudulent, or, oh, this one looks okay. All right, PhishTool is very helpful, and it's going to look for SPF, DKIM, and DMARC, as well as other things. PhishTool, here's what they say on their website. Gives human analysts the power to reverse engineer phishing emails. Why? So that you can literally explode the email and say, does this look legitimate or fraudulent? It's a great little tool, and now I'm going to demonstrate it. Any questions before we go on? Okay, it's phishtool.com, and here's what it looks like when you log in. And you can get a free account with phishtool.com. So let's say I went over here to these emails, and I found an email that I said, well, I want to make sure that this is legitimate. And when I look at it, it's like loaded full of, gobbledygook. Well, copy all of it, Control-C, and then open a text file. And actually, I'm not going to do that because I already have, but I go into phishing emails and I have a bunch of these text files. So I'm going to open it up, and you can see that message or other messages like it are in, I pasted them into a text file and saved them. Okay, so that's what you do. You take your email. I'm going to go back and do it again. Let me turn that one off. You're in your email. You view the source, or it's called source or raw message, and then you take that and copy and paste it into a text file. All right. Then we go into PhishTool, and there we go. Here are the phishing emails. All right, I saved them off already, and we're looking at PhishTool. Go to Analysis, and it says, oh, drag and drop here. Wow, is it that simple? Yes, it is. And I'll show you. So I go to phishing emails. I grab one of the messages that I think we should analyze, and I drop it in here. There, PhishTool has that message. And it says, as rendered, there's the message. The source, that's the text file that I dragged and dropped. All right? And then when you look at it in terms of HTML, that's what it looks like when it's marked up. But this is the message that we were just looking at. Hey, update your payment details, dear Scotty DC. All right? So let's move over to the left pane, and I wanted to show you some things. You notice immediately there are some red areas that are marked red. And they will literally describe stuff to you. So we're in headers, and it says red, and you come down here and it says from, well, there's this yellow thing. You click on it and it says it's an inconsistent display name. The from address is inconsistent with the display name of NETFL1X provided in the email. So it may not match. It doesn't look like it matches because it's actually from pphosted.com. But PhishTool does that for you automatically. Like, well, that's kind of cool. Well, let's go down here. It says, oh, return path. It's an inconsistent return path. Again, palinate.com doesn't match the from of pphosted.com. So now we're saying Netflix, it says it's Netflix, but it's not really, NETFL1X, doesn't match palinate.com, which doesn't match pphosted.com. Very fishy. Okay, and those are located within the message. It's addressed to me here. Again, the display name, if you look at it closely, that's a 1, not an I. But you're saying, this may not, this looks like it has some fishiness to it. Click on received lines, and it shows you some stuff from the received lines. X headers, I don't look at X headers. I don't study X headers. But now we'll go to security. And look at that, SPF, DKIM, and DMARC. There are your 3 tools. And it says, what is the result from SPF? None. Why? Because the sending domain didn't have SPF turned on. Okay? DKIM, none. DMARC, none. So pphosted.com, where it came from, didn't have SPF turned on, didn't have DKIM turned on, and didn't have DMARC turned on. So that also tells you you can't use these tools on this particular message because pphosted.com didn't set them in its DNS record. Fishy. Attachments, not worried about that. Message URLs, not worried about that. But just the fact that it says the headers are inconsistent, to me, that is enough to say this appears fraudulent. All right, does that make sense? Any questions before I move on? Hey, Doug, thanks for joining us. I saw you joined a while ago. Any questions before I go to the next part? So we have determined that this appears to be fraudulent. It says it's from Netflix, did not come from Netflix.com. And why do you think they put NETFL1X? Any thoughts on why they did that?
Just to confuse you, like, so because they cannot put like exactly Netflix, it will not be accepted. So, but they try to get close as much as they can and kind of trick you, like, so because one looks like what, like letter I, so it's really similar.
Yep. Actually, your mail filter, everybody's email filters are set up to watch for things that say, if it says Netflix, but it comes from something that's not Netflix.com, throw it away. It already is configured to say that. So the sender can't put NETFLIX without it triggering your mail filter. So they put NETFL1X so that you look at it and you say, hey, it's Netflix, because your mind didn't see the one. But the mail filter would have seen the I and already stopped delivering it. So the reason they put this stuff in that looks to a human like it's correct, but to a mail system, it will not grab this because it doesn't say Netflix. It says NETFL1X, and therefore it didn't trigger the mail filter. So just so you know, mail filters are smart. They're designed to look for, if it says it's from Netflix, F-L-I-X, and it doesn't come from Netflix.com, throw it away. It automatically does that, or put it in the spam folder. All right, so we have this message. I'm going to go back to the message. We're looking at it here, and I say, this is fraudulent. Well, let's go into our reporting methods and see if Netflix wants to get something reported. And yes, they do. Phishing at Netflix.com. As well as, you guys know about this, the anti-phishing working group for any phishing. All right? Report phishing at apwg.org and phishing at Netflix.com. So this one message, we're going to forward it to 2 different addresses. So we're going to send it to phishing at Netflix.com. Send. Let me go back to, got to do it back to starred first. Bring it back up and say, okay, we're going to forward this to report phishing at apwg.org. Send. And then, of course, this is what we do, and we should teach other people to do this as well if they send it, but also don't just delete it. Teach people how to do this. So I have now forwarded this to 2, and that's going to go in our report, but then we teach them to block the sender. And I'm not going to say delete all existing emails because it would delete this one. So I say block from this blah, blah, blah .pphosted.com, block them, and then take this message and mark it as spam. Now it's out of your inbox, but Yahoo Mail now knows I've marked it as spam. It's in my spam folder. And I have reported it to the APWG and to Netflix because this sender was impersonating Netflix, and Netflix said, tell me when they do that. All right? So it's not in our inbox anymore. Now I go over here and I say, what is your name? Scotty Ward. What day did you do this work? Today. How long did you spend? Here's what I recommend you do. consider that all your learning, all your reading, all your analyzing, use of the PhishTool, whatever you're doing, it should add up roughly to about 10 minutes per message. Don't sell yourself short. All of that is time spent learning, reading about emails. Put that all together in here, and don't just say, oh, I did 4 clicks, so that's 45 seconds. There was more to it than that. So figure about 10 minutes per message that you report. And it says, how many reports did I do? Well, I did 2. 1 to APWG and 1 to phishing@netflix.com. So I click submit. And then get ready for another one. All right, so that means I now have, I'm going to come down here, I now have experience 2 messages. Spent 20 minutes, reported 2 messages in the month of June. So this is going to be my experience at the end of the month. I get a certificate that says Scotty Ward spent 20 minutes reporting 2 messages in the month of June. That means you, not me, but you can claim incident response analyst experience for those messages that you report. That's what you're doing. You are literally going through our reporting methods. All of these organizations said, please tell us when you find somebody who says they're us, but they're not. They want to know this. So you're helping them with their brand reputation. If somebody says they're FedEx and they're not, and they get phished, somebody's going to call FedEx and say, hey, you guys messed me up, but it wasn't FedEx. So FedEx wants to prosecute these folks so they can stop them from pretending they're FedEx, all right, from impersonating FedEx or any of these other companies. And if you find any that aren't on here, let us know. We'll add them to this list. But like, for example, Truist Bank. Truist Bank said, if somebody claims to be us and they're not, send it to emailabuse@truist.com and we'll handle it from there. But then also, you could say, well, any phishing should go to the APWG, and that means you get double credit. 1 email, you get double credit. All right? And that means at the end of the month, I say, this is the experience that you've had. If you take a look, these were our reports from May. And some of them were just 1. Look, my wife, 10 minutes, 1 message. And I helped her do that. Why? So that she would learn how to do this. She says, I have a lot of these in my inbox. And I said, okay, so let me help you get them sent to the right people so that they can, the mail filters, I'm going to point this out. Can you 100% of the time prove that a message is real or fraudulent? And the answer is no. You can't, because I'm going to go back to analysis, and I think I've got one that was actually a legitimate email. I think it's this one, 603. Analyzing. Nope, that wasn't it. But you're going to look at it, and it looks correct. It doesn't, it's got DKIM turned on, it's got SPF turned on, it's got DMARC turned on, and everything looks green. There's no red marks on there, but it may still be fraudulent. Now, the reason is it could have been a compromised account that is sending this stuff out from a legitimate account on a legitimate mail server, but the account was compromised and is now being used to send out phishing messages. So the domain is going to be set up correctly. The return address is set up correctly, but it's a spoofed email from a compromised account. So PhishTool may not help you. And you're like, well, isn't there a way to 100% of the time be certain that a message is real or fraudulent? And the answer is no. If there were, all of these scammers would be out of business. So there's always the possibility that, number one, you're going to report something that was legitimate, okay, or number two, you're going to pass something that is fraudulent. I'm trying to teach you using your analysis, in this case PhishTool, to teach you to look for certain things like, is the from address actually the domain? You know, if it says it's from Harbor Freight, is it from harborfreight.com? If not, you can teach your family or your neighbors or your coworkers, if it says it's from Harbor Freight, go into the message. I'm going to go to this one because we know it's fraudulent, and say, well, wait a minute. It says, oh, by the way, in this one, it actually has a PDF. I did a preview, and the PDF says it's from Norton. So this one, if it says it's from Norton, although it says, you know, Billings Team, HelloSign.com, Dropbox Sign, Gmail.com, if you preview, don't open, but preview the attachment, it says it's from Norton. So Norton wants to know about this as well. Why? Because you go to reporting methods and come down here, and Norton says send it to spam@norton.com. So you do report phishing at APWG, spam@norton.com, then block the sender and mark it as spam. You have done everything possible to bring to light that this stuff has arrived at your inbox. Because if it arrived, it made it through the mail filter. They don't know that it was fraudulent. You're helping, in this case, I'm helping Yahoo by marking it as spam. I'm helping Yahoo tune their mail filters. Okay? Does that make sense? Anybody have any questions? This has been a quick demonstration, but I'm going to put it on YouTube, so go back and review it. But these are just some of the things that you can do. Number one, to be more accurate in your analysis. Number two, some things to tell people that you speak to. I'm going to give an example. Amazon. Amazon's a good one. If you examine it, this says it's from Amazon.com. Why? Because I just ordered this little cart this morning, and Amazon sent me a confirmation email. So you can teach your family to go look at it. If they say they're from Amazon, just do that little hover and say, is it Amazon.com? If so, that could be legitimate. But if it says it's from, you know, PP Sign or PP Send or whatever we saw before, .com, Amazon doesn't send things from ppsend.com. That is an indicator that it's not legitimate. And you can teach people that. This is a simple one. The SPF, you know, that stuff you can do. But this is something you can teach your spheres to do. Hover over it, examine the domain, and see if it matches. If it doesn't, that should raise a red flag to you. Okay? Anybody have any questions, comments? Have you learned something here?
Definitely. Yeah, this is so good. Yeah. I heard about those protocols, email protocols, but never like did any like detailed
Right.
research. Yeah, so good.
Yep. And the more advanced you get, the deeper you're going to get into these things. Oh, and here's the other thing. With SPF, DKIM, and DMARC, you as an incident response analyst or as a cybersecurity analyst or a SOC analyst, do you need to set these things? And the answer is no. The email people should set these, not you. That's the ops people. And frequently, larger organizations have one team for operations. They're the ones that go into the DNS record and set SPF, DKIM, and DMARC settings in the DNS record, and then set the mail server so it uses all of that. And then the SOC team, that's where you would be, examine it and let them know if they did a good job. When you get to larger organizations, the ops people set it, the security folks verify it. Okay? So you don't have to do the settings, but it's helpful for you to know so you can verify that ops did a good job. Make sense? All right, that's all I have for today. If anybody has any more questions or anything, let me know in email or on our Facebook. All right?
Morning, Scotty. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Hi, good morning. I'm sorry, I had a lot of issues coming in today, so I was a little late, but the question I have is regarding, I was going to ask you the same question that the other attendee asked, which is, so we don't have to do anything about accessing the DMARC or DKIM, any of those SPF. Okay.
Just know about them. For example, you drop it into PhishTool, and PhishTool says, hey, this is set wrong. You don't have to know that. Just drop it into PhishTool and look for it.
Okay.
If you're going for your CISA, then yes, you need to know about DKIM, SPF, and DMARC and what they do. You know, the things that I told you. If you're looking for one that wants to check for message integrity, you can't use SPF. That's about all you need to know, even for your CISA Plus.
Got it. Thanks. And the other question I had is there a possibility that someone could become infected with a virus or any type of malware by just opening one of those emails?
The answer is anything is possible. So that's why you exercise care. If you're actually going and looking at malicious content, the smart thing to do is to use a virtual machine.
Okay.
Set up a VM and then use that to log into your email, for example, and then you can, look at attachments. They're trying to get better at it, like in Yahoo, there was a preview for the PDF. You don't download it and execute it locally. You open the preview and it shows you what's there, because that doesn't enable any active content. Okay. But again, the smart thing to do if you're actually doing, in-depth work with possible malicious content is to use a VM.
Okay, got it. So I think, I was going to ask you also about, do we process text messages? And how do you do that? You
can. It depends on the system. The Federal Trade Commission says they do it. The Anti-Phishing Working Group says they do it. But typically what you have to do is you have to forward that text message to an email address. And not all messaging apps will do that.
Okay.
But at the very least, if you're using, your phone and you get a message that is fraudulent, at the very least, and this is what you teach your people to do, forward it to 7726. which spells out spam.
Oh, okay. 7726?
7726 is the word spam if you look on your phone dialer.
Okay.
And all of the major providers, T-Mobile, AT&T, Verizon, all of your texting providers have that mailbox set up so that you can forward stuff and report directly to them. Now, that doesn't go to the APWG, but it does go, in my case, I use T-Mobile. It goes to T-Mobile and says, you identified this as spam. Okay?
All right. Very good.
And yes, claim credit for it on your report, on your log.
Got it. Okay. Thanks so much.
Sure. All right. Everybody, I hope you enjoyed this. It's a lot of fun doing these sorts of things because it makes me get smarter. So have fun with this. If you have any other questions, let us know.